everyone, it's Theodora, and I'm here with singers Sarah Nordin and Tyler Putnam to talk about how they have successful careers while having a family. Sarah Nordin is a mezzo-soprano who's been praised by Opera News for the clear beauty of her voice and her on-spot comic timing. And bass Tyler Putnam as a standout by Opera Magazine. They have both been singing very successfully throughout the U.S. while raising their beautiful daughter, and I'm so excited to be talking to you today. Thank you for being here. I want to kick off the conversation, sort of how you got your careers off the ground.
The keys of my success, I guess, have sort of been the young artist circuit. I did a lot of young artist programs, and they sort of one led into another, and it eventually just started me off in the principal circle. A lot of that has to do with me making contacts along the way, and they're not necessarily with the companies that the programs are at, if that makes sense.
I also got off to a good young artist start. My start in opera is thanks specifically to Louis Burkott, who runs Opera North. I went to Dartmouth College, and he is a professor at Dartmouth and started that opera company in New Hampshire while he was there. And so I sang in the chorus when I was in college. Then I went to New York, spent some time there, found a voice teacher, was doing some training, and Louis asked me to come back and join the young artist program as a young artist, and he gave me a principal role. I was singing Raimondo in Lucia opposite of Hal Wilson. He did two performances, I did two performances. And that was the kick I needed from Louis. And then I got young artist positions at Sarasota that winter and Santa Fe the next summer, and 2 years with each of those companies, and that got me rolling.
So I know that a lot of young artists are concerned about, entering the young artist programs, but then not leveraging that experience to get principal roles, which both of you were very successful at. Do you guys feel as though you did something differently?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Because I would have done things differently if I went back to those programs. And I still look at the time I spent at Santa Fe as the most fulfilling and exciting time, I think, in my career, because it's just the best company I've ever worked for lots of reasons. And what I would say is it's about the people you meet while you're there, that you're trying to try to impress people and get to be friends with people, like maybe in an annoyingly aggressively friendly way. That's not my personality, but if you have that personality, use it. Especially the pianists on staff, assistant directors, the youngest people on staff. You could talk about Moriarty, for instance.
Yeah, like it's like Moriarty was in
John
charge.
Moriarty at Central City is the man, the boss, but he was a pretty old dude by the time Sarah was there.
So I got to know him, but then he was gone and wasn't doing anything anymore, and it's an entirely new group of people. And the people you want to know are like the schedulers. Get to know, have drinks with everybody who's young and be friends with them and stay friends with them afterwards, because that's how you get work. Your managers, they're old too, and they retire and they're gone, and then you have to have a whole new group of people, and they're all going to be your age. So it might take a while, and it won't happen tomorrow, but
yeah, there's at least two things going on. One is just, are you talented? How good are you? But let's assume we're not worrying about that. The other is who survives. Who's going to stay in it for the long haul? Who's going to wait out the the virus right now, who will still be around when it's all over. And I really pity the people who are going to their first Young Artist program this summer. I can't imagine being in that circumstance. Because as you wait, there's a huge dropping off that must happen, I think, in people's 30s. How many? Because we have a kid and we're both still singing. Okay, that's pretty unique. So, what does it take to get to that point and keep at it? Well, one is just doggedness. I will not stop doing this. This is just what I'm going to do forever.
That's true. I have a lot of friends who are extremely talented, and I find out, they announce, I'm going to go start teaching now. I don't want to sing anymore. And a lot of that is, I think I blame a little bit on the 1-year programs. Because you get into one-year program and you're singing full-time with one place. You live in one place. You get a paycheck that's the same from the same company. It's a W-2 often. And then you get done and you say, I don't want to go travel around and try to figure out this gig economy thing. I want to have a job that's normal, that's in one place. And I want to, my kid's in school at this place now or whatever. And it really weeds out a lot of people. So I would say no matter what programs you get into, remember that program will end. And when it does end, have a plan financially for how you're going to keep going after money is no longer coming every week.
Thank you for sharing both of your experiences with that. And so you talk a lot about networking, who you meet along the way. I know that you are both managed singers. Do you find that there's still a good amount of self-managing that goes along with what work your manager does do for you?
Almost entirely. And I would say do not be afraid to jump ship and be unmanaged for a while and go to the next one. Because the same manager has the same contacts. And eventually you've got them already. And so just go to the next one or whatever, and don't pay anybody any money that isn't commission based. Monthly retainers and all of that those managers almost never.
Yeah, you just say no retainer. You just announce that to every young singer. Do not go with any manager who charges you a retainer, because if we all say no, then that will become industry standard and no one will be allowed to do it, basically. Or the people who do won't have the talent. So we're certainly in that camp. Also, a shout out with that in mind. I know the managers, they don't have money coming in right now either. This is a horrible time for everybody. They've formed a group. They're actually talking to each other in a really positive way, I've heard right now. And also, Sarah and I are part of the AGMA Soloists Coalition. I hope that's come up with your other interviews. And they have a young artist, group there as well for people who are members and who are not members of the union to discuss
learn about the union, tell them what things that they want the coalition to sort of work towards within our union. It's a huge group that represents so many people in so many different walks of life that our young artists get ignored a lot. And so they're trying to get those people involved so that we can even know what they want when we go to the negotiation tables.
I do want to go back to your original question about managing, though. Yes, everyone needs to be able to manage their own careers. Even if you have a manager, they expect you to reach out to the people you know. I think once a year is fine. That's your minimum for reaching out to a conductor you worked with. I am the worst at this, so I will tell other people to do it. If you can do it, you'll go farther than I have in career. Anybody who has held a baton in front of you, if you have their email address, once a year, personally, not an email blast, just say, hey, what are you up to? I'm doing this. Really short. If they don't reply, don't take it personally, but how hard is that? And like I say, even if you are managed, that's your job to maintain your personal relationships.
And to maintain the relationships that your manager gives you, because sometimes those relationships change and you want to always be positive, the one that everybody likes, no matter who your manager is.
I agree with that 100%. And I wish I also would have known that a little bit earlier, because I got managed early and I was like, I'm set now. I was not set.
No, you still have to have a Yap Trackers thing. You still have to talk to everybody you've ever known, because your manager is just trying to get somebody in that position, not necessarily you. You need to be the one that when they look at the pile of people, they go, oh yeah, I like her.
Do you guys find yourselves reaching out to companies that you've never worked with before?
I have. I did a lot of that with our recent audition tour to Germany, and it works sometimes. The thing is quantity is the most important aspect of that. And I have gotten a lot of auditions because I was like singing in a city and there's another opera company in that same city, and you say, I'm here, I'm singing this, you can come see it, or I'll come sing for you. And they usually say, oh, just come sing for me, because, I don't want to be seen at that opera company or whatever. Because they don't always get along, but it's fine, though. They almost always will hear you, especially if you are already singing somewhere else.
Do you find that there are like good practices and bad practices to approaching these people?
Don't make it too long. You don't need to send them a bio in the body of your email. They don't have time for that. Like, quick, could you hear me today, please? It's fine. They're gonna, if you want to make it so that they will actually read it.
I have talked to many people now about how important media is today. People are getting hired on media alone. Do you find that that's been the case for both of you?
I can't point to a single video that's gotten me work. Sarah can though. Yeah.
I got an Orlovsky early on in my career that was videoed in a very high quality way. And it was kind of before everybody had videos on YouTube. And that, I think, is why it was the key to my success. But now it's just, everybody has videos of everything. And so it is important, and you have to have it now. It's not as much of an advantage as it used to be because everyone has them.
But if you want to talk about side gigs and to brag about Sarah, so she's a professional opera singer, and her side gig is singing. So her video of her singing Ave Maria gets her all kinds of weddings and funerals from
corporate work. And that same video of Orlovsky has gotten me more Orlovskys at other companies, but also like I was approached by America's Got Talent and things like that, because the video is so good and unique, me being a woman playing a man and really looking like a man. And in an era where that's like interesting, everybody responds to it positively, and that's a good thing for a mezzo to have. Yes, I can do a pants roll is important.
Yeah, we can talk more about video because we're not instructed about it at all in school, I don't think, especially in an art form that predates video and we somehow think we're better than it or something. So, and a lot of us are fiercely self-critical, as well we should be. Mm-hmm. However, you should still tape, especially if there's an orchestra playing, tape it. I shouldn't say I don't care about their union laws, but you, at least as the artist, should be able to go back and see that. So you need a tripod or a friend with a steady hand. Almost all phones have a good camera now. The audio quality alone varies, but get somebody in the house during a dress rehearsal to tape that aria and have it on hand. You whatever is the most recent thing, you'll want to send that in for your next application. Only 3 people are going to see it. It doesn't need to be public. And then keep it and watch it again in a year, because sometimes you'll be like, wow, I'm so improved. I was terrible. Or if you're like me, you go to something you did 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and think, oh, no wonder Santa Fe hired me. Like, that was good stuff. I need to make sure, okay, my language wasn't that great, but boy, I was on fire. How do I get that back? So it's weird to watch your own clips once it gets to, like, it's been 10 years and you can reach back that far. These are incredible tools that we only have access to now, so use it.
Yeah, and I would say, like, I even record my rehearsals video so that I can tell myself that doesn't sound good. because your directors and your music, your conductors, they probably won't tell you your high notes sound bad. So it's only you that gets to, and your voice teacher is never in there. So at least audio record everything and listen to all of it.
Again, great advice. I know that I'm like you, Taylor. I looked back at all of my videos that I've taken recently, and I was like, hey, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was.
At the time, I thought it was awful, and now I think, hey, actually,
Probably should have used that material a little bit earlier. So I can definitely relate to that. But now I want to talk about, you do have a child and you are freelancing, and I think that's incredible because it's a tough business as it is, but to raise a family and be a family, that's challenging on its own, whether you have a successful career or not. So I was wondering if you have any advice to singers who either are thinking about starting a family but are like, no, I shouldn't do that quite yet, or just things that have helped you manage both.
I honestly, now that I've done it, do not feel like it would have hindered me if I had done it earlier. I know that people are afraid of that, and they're like, oh no, what if I'm, give up my college experience, or I give up my, like, that stuff so doesn't matter that much. I had a baby when I was 36, but after doing it, do not think that you need to wait that long. I do not think that there's anything wrong with doing it in your 20s. It's so, it's amazing, first of all, to have a baby. And I think that there's a lot of time in your younger years where you could be pregnant, you could have a baby, you are learning how to work out the world anyway, and it's just so much easier to do it then, I think, than it is when your career is large. Is you have a ton of stuff to do, you're already busy. If I had a teenager right now, it would be a lot easier. It would. And I envy some of my friends who had babies earlier, and I don't think that you should be afraid of that. Although I don't think you should do it just because you want to have a baby.
and also, you're talking to the woman here who you can't tell from her resume that she had a baby, so that's part of the advice you're giving too.
Yeah.
You don't take any time off to do it.
No, I literally, I was in Greece when I was 6 months pregnant. I was in several before that. Before that, nobody can tell, and it doesn't matter. Then I did several shows with Gulf Shore Opera, very pregnant, like 8 months. And then I had 1 month where I couldn't move. And I was supposed to do a Carmen and got fired from it because they were like, you're too fat, sorry. And then 4 days after my baby was born, I started rehearsals for Macbeth. Wow. So, 1 or 2 months, nobody notices that on a resume. But if you say, oh, I'm sorry, I have to have a baby now, I'm going to be gone for 3 years, you're probably not coming back. And that's the case in any job you have anywhere.
Yeah, that's not unique to singing.
That's not unique to singing in any way. Like, lots of women go, oh, I'll go back after a while, and then they go back when their child goes to college, and they think, oh, maybe I should go back to work now, and they have no contacts whatsoever.
I'm curious, did it change your singing to have a baby?
It did. I definitely had, I was taking voice lessons weekly the whole time I was pregnant because I was going to have to sing a high C in Macbeth, and I'm a mezzo. And mezzos don't sing high Cs that often, and therefore it was like a held one. It's the first one I'd ever performed, like, for real like that. And so I was really vocalizing every single day, even up to having her and right after immediately. And yeah, you have to work on it, and it changes a lot, and you're constantly dealing with your teacher and your body and figuring out what's different and how do I adjust. And a lot of it for me came back to the way it was before, but you could probably hurt yourself if you think you're just going to jump up and sing if you haven't been practicing the whole time. And doctors will tell you that about exercise too, and about literally anything. If you stop doing it while you're pregnant and then expect to just start doing it again, it's not going to happen.
Absolutely. Do you think that there are practical tips that you could give to people who do have a family?
Yeah, I would say, like, one thing that is really not, it's not something that people would think is true. It's because we often say, oh, I can't marry another singer because he won't have a job and who's going to watch the kid, you know? but but here's the thing, like, we're both singers. We have very wild, very different, very flexible schedules. And so, yes, we have to sit with our calendar every day and say who's doing what when. And we have to turn down some jobs because somebody else gets a better one or whatever. But I think it's a huge advantage to have someone who is home during the day a lot. You know, you're both home, you're both taking care of the baby equally, you're both cooking equally, you're both cleaning equally, and you just go on every gig with each other and bring her with you. And that's how we do it, and I find it to be very fulfilling because you're home with her. She knows, you know, maybe she has to go to Germany for a month, but she's happy to be anywhere.
Who doesn't want a well-traveled baby, honestly?
Yeah, that's how we did our trip to Germany. Is it didn't matter who had the audition, the entire family got on the train and went to that city every time. And Pauline was how old? She was a year and a half, and that was much better than if the baby and other parents stayed in the Airbnb all day. So we totally stick together as family.
That's very sweet.
Yeah, we bring her to auditions and he watches her out there and I go in and then we switch immediately. You know, like, we can't afford nannies. That's not reality for opera singers. We're not lawyers. We're not, you know, big businessmen who make twice as much as they need in the world. And nannies require the same amount of money anybody needs for a salary for a year. So unless you're making double what you need, you can't get one. Take her with us everywhere, and people love it. People know who she is.
I think that's awesome. I think that's really great, and I think it's especially great for young artists to hear that, because I do know that a lot of people ask themselves if they can have both, and it's great to see that you can have both.
I mean, I do get frustrated with some people who just hate children in general, but that's pretty rare, actually. And I know you think people might judge you because you have a kid, but I don't think that happens as often as we're afraid it will.
Well, thank you both so much for giving your perspective on that. And I am now at the point of the interview where I ask everybody the same question. What advice would you give to your younger self?
I don't feel very regretful right now. Isn't
Yeah.
that weird?
No.
Back up. Like, make sure your data is backed up in the cloud. I had every single voice lesson recorded on a physical external hard drive that ended up stolen. So protect your data. Yeah, I have to say, I guess that was the way it was meant to be. It was not meant for me to ever go back and listen to those voice lessons. Would I've really done it anyway? So you just can't. This is not even an option. So he's passed away now. My voice teacher, Randy Michelson, very interesting character. He told so many crazy stories. Just what lives on in my mind, I guess.
Yeah. Back up your data. I don't know. I would definitely tell myself to not worry so much about stuff. That your life is like, you kind of have to take it one day at a time. Because I don't know. I think I stressed myself out over things that didn't matter that much. And things happen and things don't happen, and sometimes something you really wanted doesn't happen, but then something else opens up. And it's always interesting how life works out that way. And so learning to let go of the things that seem like setbacks is a very important skill in this world, or you will quit.
I did think of a piece of advice that I think I just crafted it this year, because I am more than 5 years out now from my big young artist programs, and you look back and you see, well, who's really making it, and who's just struggling along, and who's dropped out. And I look back and I think, wow, we all have this desire to be like friendly colleagues and be a team as young artists, which is a wonderful natural instinct. But if you are the next best thing, go be the next best thing. Don't let anyone else stop you. If you can do that with humility and being a great colleague as well, awesome. But be a star. That's what they want. That's what they want to make you. And so, yeah, you're in the chorus, but you shouldn't be. You shouldn't be. You shouldn't be in the chorus. Everyone knows it. Yeah. It's okay to feel that way. It is. We're afraid of the cross as jerks, but if you can do it with humility, please. The industry, I think they tell you this at some of the programs, like, yeah, that's what the industry wants. They want stars, and they're hoping to make them. They almost do everything in their power to make it hard for you to be a star by squishing you and telling you suck. So like, but it, be that person. Anyway.
Yeah. Don't accept chorus as the way it's going to be. That's for sure.
Great advice, yet again. I do want to ask you, do you have any parting advice for the young artists of today?
Get very, very good at technology. Not that you aren't already, because you're just in that generation. But it's a changing world post-coronavirus. I think there's going to be a lot more of filming, a lot more, different, interesting things people are going to do that aren't in theaters. Get real video cameras that actually work, like the iPhone 11 instead of, your, random Android, whatever. Like, get good stuff and be diligent about using it and learning how to use all of the technology that you're going to have to use in any job you get. After coronavirus, it's going to be more digital. That's just how it is.
I would say practice schmoozing. Yeah. Be ready for it. When you're at the parties, talk to the donors, talk to the people with name tags. Do not talk to the other singers. That's lame. You can talk to them in rehearsal later. So like, I feel like as a young singer, like, most people rolled their eyes at it and felt uncomfortable. Like, just the only way to do it is just practice, talk to those people, because that skill, you're going to need it. And some of those people are going to be really important, and some of them want to like write you personally a check. So yeah.
Thank you both so much for answering all of my questions. I really appreciate it. For those of you at home, go check out their Instagram. It's Putnam Singers. And you can read more about them on their websites, tylerputnam.net and sarah nordin.com. And don't forget to subscribe to their YouTube.